Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is a horror film from the USA, English language, released in the year 2006, directed by Eduardo Sanchez, and this film is called Altered. So Altered is about a group of friends who suffer a trauma when one day one of them goes missing. Now, he hasn't been seen since, and the friends actually believe that he'd been abducted by aliens, but the community believe that one of them actually murdered him. So the brother of this missing man, he's been hell-bent on getting revenge ever since, and so his father actually disowned him, and so he's got a lot of bitterness inside him. And there's another one of the friends, who is the main character, who's trying to get away from this group because he believes he wants a better life for himself and his partner. So he's trying his best to stay away from them, but one evening he gets a call in the middle of the night that this brother of the missing man has actually found the alien. He's found this alien in the woods, and he's going to do something really bad to it. And so this man charges out into the woods. They take the alien, they bring him back to the home, and they're trying to determine what to do next. The brother of this missing man wants to kill it and torture it, but they believe that if he does this, the rest of the aliens are going to come down, and it's going to have catastrophic consequences for the world. And so they're going to try and keep this brother from doing anything stupid, and at the same time try and find a peaceful resolution. And so whether or not they can, something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now, my thoughts on Altered. I actually thought this is a very neat film, which is very surprising considering the fact that no one really ever talks about it. And I will say that's the greatest disappointment with Eduardo Sanchez. Ever since he made Blair Witch Project, I thought that's a very important film for the found footage subgenre and horror in general. I thought he made something that was terrifying. I can still remember Blair Witch the first time I watched it, and so it is regarded as a classic horror film. A lot of people didn't like it, but a lot of people loved it. But it showcased that Eduardo Sanchez had a very bright future as far as horror is concerned. He was a very competent filmmaker, but since then he's gone off the map, and I don't really know what's happened to him. I know that he's been making movies, but they just haven't got any attention, and I think that is a disappointment. I thought that's a pity, because for someone who is so iconic as far as horror is concerned, he's really not talked about that much. And so I didn't really have any expectations coming into Altered for that simple fact that no one really talks about it, but I had the excitement there because I wanted to see if Eduardo Sanchez is a one-trick pony with found footage, or if he could actually emulate what he did in Blair Witch, but have something a little bit different with a much more traditional way of storytelling as far as making a horror film is concerned. And I will say that he does possess the same qualities that made Blair Witch so good. And the reason why Blair Witch was so good was that it had a lot of psychological tension, it had a lot of suspense, it had a lot of questions that needed answering, and because you didn't know what those answers were, it leaves you on a knife's edge. It leaves you on the edge of your seat wondering what's around the next corner, and because of that it creates the suspense. And that's the reason why a lot of directors don't get that suspense, is because they're not willing to actually give you that slow momentum as far as build-up is concerned. I thought the build-up in this movie was very, very tense. It was actually quite unbearable at times, because I never thought to myself that I have any control. I never thought that I knew what was going to happen. I always felt as though I was the puppet, not the puppeteer. And that's something that I think Eduardo Sanchez possesses in a lot of, is that quality in creating that level of uncertainty, and that level of uncertainty takes all control away from you. And I thought that, okay, that is the film's biggest plus, and fortunately that's the biggest plus as far as Eduardo Sanchez is concerned in general. So the movie does have a very, very dark atmosphere. I thought atmospherically it was very tense, very claustrophobic. I thought as though, alright, well, these group of friends are basically they're basically one step away from annihilation. Is that if they inflict pain upon this alien, will other aliens come down? Are they getting paranoid? All of these questions, and it's left up in the air, and it just makes a very unnerving experience. I thought there was a lot of gore in the film that I thought was very, very well done, but it doesn't play center stage. Basically, center stage is that psychology of not knowing what is going to happen next. I thought the dynamics between the group of friends was actually very good, especially the brother of the missing man. I thought he was very torn up, and I was actually asking myself the question, is that if you inflict pain on something you deem responsible for the trauma in your life, is that going to make it better? Is it just going to make you even angrier? Or basically, can violence ever be used in a positive way? And I think that it can't. And so this movie begs that question, is that, okay, is this brother, he wants to kill this alien, he wants to do horrible things to the alien, but the rest of the friends, especially the main character, is the voice of reason. He's trying to say, if you do this, it's going to have these consequences, and it's not going to bring your brother back. And so the movie does play on a dynamic, a family dynamic as well, and that was again another very surprising element, is that this movie it has a feel of a straight to straight-to-DVD movie, and straight-to-DVD movies don't specialise in psychology, and that psychology mixing in with old-fashioned science fiction horror, I thought it was just a very rewarding experience. And if you are a fan of science fiction horror, I would definitely say go out there and see it, because it is a little bit different. You see a lot of these types of movies where the humans are being held captive, but in this movie it's spun it on its ear. It's basically the aliens' turn to be on that, basically held captive, and you feel to yourself, alright, I don't want to see bad things happen to the alien because the consequences of that. And so that basically not knowing whether or not other aliens are coming, not knowing whether or not the brother's disappearance had anything to do with the alien, and whether or not the brother is actually going to kill this alien. And so there's a lot of avenues of uncertainty that create that level of suspense that make it a very, very impressive horror film that I would highly recommend. It's nothing brilliant, it's nothing that's going to win any awards, but as far as these types of movies are concerned, I believe that it deserves a lot more recognition than it gets, and it showcases just how good Eduardo Sanchez can be. So overall, for Altered, going to give this one 4 stars. Go out there and see it. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next, thank you for watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.